From the beginning, Ignition Network has focused on providing reusable, scalable, and secure digital relationship marketing solutions for clients and agencies. It means that you can tap into an innovative marketing technology platform that leverages prior activity, allows for flexible options, and complies with the strictest security standards from the banking industry. And because the platform is already built, you only pay for what you need. Plus, you enjoy faster speed to market. That's our added value. We call it Instant Ignition, and today we're going to show you how it works. We think you'll agree. There's nothing like it. The future is now.
Instant Ignition's platform is designed to be flexible for any type of marketing engagement. It allows you to use it either holistically or modularly. Here's how. In a classic application, all functional code is part of the website. Direct access to the database server is required, and reusability is often done by copy and paste. Instant Ignition's approach does not require direct access to the database server. It's a service-oriented architecture, where functional code is contained in our master control framework. This is a building block approach that lets you create a custom program that fits your unique requirements. Because we are a global provider, we've reinforced Instant Ignition with the highest level of security. This means we are PCI compliant and conduct annual audits with PCI penetration testing and vulnerability scans. Every client has different needs, and with our software as a service approach, Instant Ignition can meet and exceed those needs by leveraging our master control framework to fuel marketing applications. These applications can then be bundled together to solve any marketing need and support your final creative layer. All of this allows us to offer programs at a significantly lower cost and in less time than traditional diagonal development methodology.
Today we are going to demonstrate how Ignition Network uses its master control framework to create web applications. It's built on the Microsoft .NET 3.5 platform using the Windows Communications Foundation layer and the Microsoft SQL Server 2008 Enterprise High Availability Database. In addition to over 50,000 hours in developer time, it represents over 500,000 lines of code. Development of this framework is ongoing as we provide cumulative benefits from prior activity while expanding functionality to meet growing client needs.
Our demo today is a simple loyalty site. We'll use 4 pieces from the framework: the Monolith UI Toolkit, the MCP user registration, the Risk Manager Risk Service Flynn promotional code validation, the Risk Manager Loyalty Engine Waterson recording of loyalty points. We'll demonstrate 3 different ways of connecting to and using Master Control Framework services. The Monolith built-in validation uses a few lines of markup to produce a completely validated input form. We'll use the required text box, the US state dropdown, the email input, and the submit button. As you can see, when we click submit, we get an error message that we need all of these input fields. When we fill them in, submit again, we see that our email is invalid. So we put in a valid email and submit again. When we finally get a good submit, you notice that the Monolith click once submit button is grayed out and says please wait. This prevents users from double clicking on submission. Of course, the input form doesn't do us any good unless we save it somewhere. So we're going to use the MCP user registration to save this. The MCP user registration implements the ASP.NET provider model for membership and profiles. It stores and updates a base set of user profile values in the SQL Server database. To implement the MCP user registration, first we put in a connection string saying where we're going to find the service. Then we're going to hook up the assemblies or reference the assemblies that we need to use. And then we'll add in the configuration for the provider. We add in code behind our form to save the form to the MCP service. And as we enter our user again, we see that the user is stored in the MCP SQL Server database. The next master control framework piece that we're going to use is the Flynn Risk Service. We'll use today a precompiled static client class to connect to the service. First thing we're going to do is put in a connection string telling us where. Then we reference the assemblies for Flynn. And to make things easier, we're going to add in a helper class for the tokens and the keys that Flynn needs to use. If we implemented Flynn using a provider, these tokens and keys would be encapsulated in the provider classes. Flynn uses the saved MCP user profile for validation of eligibility, and it's highly configurable to accommodate a large range of promotion parameters. To demonstrate how Flynn validates our code, we're going to enter in a non-valid code and show how the Flynn is validating it. In the non-valid code, it's telling us that the code is not known. So let's change it to a code that's not valid for this particular user. And when we submit that code, we're told that it's a not valid state. And finally, let's enter a good code. And now we see that the code's been accepted, and it has a value of 10 points. Now we want to be able to store these points when we get from our codes, so we're going to implement the Waterson loyalty engine. Today we're going to use a web service reference to connect to Waterson. We'll start with adding a web service reference. I'm going to put in the WSDL and rename the namespace to something more descriptive. And when we do that, we look in the web config and we see that ASP.NET has added the WCF configuration for us. Waterson loyalty points are linked to the MCP user profile. Its flexible design allows a variety of loyalty point scenarios: add, allocate, deallocate, spend, expire, and also allows us to define where a point comes from and what type of point it is. So we're going to fill in our user form, put in a code that gets us points, and when we submit, you see that we got 10 points. If we submit the code again, we see that we got an additional 10 points for a total of 20, and a third time giving us a total of 30. We'll take a look at the Waterson database, take the user ID from MCP, look in Waterson, and we see the 3 transactions we just did. Today's demo has been a simple loyalty program implementation in about 13 lines of markup and about 100 lines of programming code. The demo is a tip of the iceberg for the Master Control Framework capabilities, and we hope that Ignition Network can engage our Master Control Framework to meet your web application needs. Thank you.